Hi, folks. Okay, we're going to go back to marriage for a second, okay? Well, because the reality is divorce is something which is of this world, okay? Because you have to apply to the judges and the courts to get your marriage separated, right, for divorce. It's a job of the courts to decide whether or not that should be the case, yes? Okay. So therefore, if it's using the court system, then what is marriage? Well, as I said before, if marriage is you go together in a church and you sign that bits of paper, then it doesn't matter whether it's in a church. If you see the marriage as a ceremony and the signing of the paperwork that you sign as husband and wife, if you saw that as a thing that meant you were married, then you absolutely and certainly were married according to this world, not according to God. So, again, it's ridiculously stupid that people can consider the idea that you can't divorce. Because why? You haven't bothered to do things according to God up to now, so why are you now demanding that people do things according to God when you haven't demanded they did things according to God earlier? Why on this issue? Why not on marriage? Why weren't you demanding that people that get married in the church do things according to God? You weren't doing that, were you? No. But you do when it comes to divorce. It's like, excuse me, shut up. It's as simple as that with regards to divorce. I'm sorry. But yeah, you can't be telling people, and neither should Paul. Paul should have shut his mouth with regards to that subject completely. He should have said, I've got nothing to say on the issue. Because if he's saying that you should stay single unless you can't resist temptation, then in no way, shape, or form is he telling you to do things according to God when you get married. So therefore, he has no business whatsoever to demand you do things according to God when you divorce, or if the marriage isn't working. No, sorry. He can't be saying, wives, you can't divorce your husband. If he's saying basically, marriage has got nothing to do with doing things according to God, but divorce is, then sorry, shut your mouth. No. If I was in that Corinthians church, well, again, sorry, if I was in the Corinthians church with my understanding now, I'd be writing back to Paul saying, excuse me, I think you shouldn't be speaking at all when it comes to marriage and when it comes to divorce. Because when it comes to marriage, you have no clue what you're talking about in any way, shape, or form. So again, excuse me, if you're going to speak to someone about marriage, speak to someone who's been married. Speak to someone who is married and has been married for 20, 30, 40 bloody years and has had a fantastic marriage. Speak to that person. Yeah? Don't speak to someone who's been single and has been serving a religion for most of his time. Serving a religion in a way that he will persecute people that he thinks could be hurting the religion in some way. That's what he was doing as Saul. Right? So as Paul, he's unmarried, never had the experience of being married. So why would anyone ask him his opinion on marriage? Sorry, wrong person to ask, first of all. And he should have said, this is not my area. Go and speak to Peter. Peter was married. Speak to him about that. Peter also walked with Yeshua. So therefore, Peter is far more qualified to talk about divorce. He was there. Saul wasn't. Paul or Saul. Neither of them were there when the Lord was speaking about divorce. Right? So again, why is it that people in church will quote that? It's a nonsense scripture. And it is. Actually, it's a nonsense scripture. That's why I know for an absolute fact it was not supposed to be part of the teachings of the New Covenant Church. No, they weren't. The letters weren't supposed to be. It was only supposed to be the Gospels. Maybe Revelations, maybe. I don't know. Again, I don't think so. No. The problem is, as I said before, Judaism had the Torah, and it was a big book. There was lots in there. So, of course, then when you had the belief system that came out of that, which really Christianity is, well, again, Christianity isn't a word that the Son of God used. So, therefore, that's not the name of his church. But as that's the name of the church, we use it. Yeah. As we don't really have another one, but that'll do, whatever. Just say God's church, right? Okay. Yeah. It would have been completely understandable when they thought, okay, maybe we need to beef this up a bit because of the fact, obviously, you look at that, there's a lot of that. Judaism, there's tons of that. They've got a massive blinking book. Not only do they have a massive book, but basically, in their understanding, each letter is a word on its own. Right? So a sentence, my goodness me, that sentence can mean something completely different than what the sentence actually says. Right? So, okay. So you couldn't really have this new covenant, that's it, by the way, this new covenant church, being just 4 little books. Well, the problem is, why not? Again, that's the point. What do we need? It's the point, isn't it? What do we need? Yeah. When it comes down to it, yeah. I mean, again, I'm sorry to disappoint people, but yeah. When you look at Paul's teaching here in 1 Corinthians, when he's talking about marriage, it's utter nonsense. He shouldn't be saying a thing about it because he's not qualified in any way, shape, or form to speak about it. I'm not the most qualified, but I am qualified in saying, I'm sorry, folks, but yeah. If you're going to say to people, don't bother to do things according to God with regards to marriage, you can't put that whole point about what God says with regards to divorce. You didn't care at the start, so why do you care at the end? Either do it completely according to God, or, sorry, no. Again, if God has joined you together, then God has done it. You haven't. If you've done it, it wasn't God. Okay? So, anyway, there you go. You take care. God bless. I'll speak to you soon. Be a blessing. Be blessed. Enjoy. Bye-bye.